Everyone knows Ram defeated Ravan, the great battle of Lanka, the arrows flying, the demon king falling. But what happened next might surprise you, because the story after Ravan's death is not a simple happily ever after. It is filled with triumph, controversy, heartbreak, and one of the most painful decisions any king has ever made. Let us pick up right where the battle ends. Ravan lies dead on the battlefield of Lanka. The 10-headed demon king, the one who had terrorized all three worlds, the one who had kidnapped Sita and refused to return her, he is finally gone. Ram's arrow, the Brahmastra empowered by the divine, has pierced Ravan's navel and ended his life. The Vanara army celebrates. The sky clears. The gods shower flowers from heaven. But Ram does not celebrate. He stands quietly, looking at Ravan's body. And then he does something that shocks everyone. He tells Lakshman, "Go to Ravan. He is dying." He was a great scholar, a master of the Vedas, a devotee of Shiva. Learn whatever wisdom you can from him before he passes. Think about that. Ram had just fought and killed this man. This was the person who had stolen his wife, caused him unimaginable suffering, and forced a massive war. And Ram's first instinct is to honor the knowledge that Ravan possessed. That is the difference between an ordinary victor and a righteous king. Lakshman went to Ravan, and according to various texts, Ravan shared profound teachings about governance, diplomacy, and life with his dying breaths. Even in defeat, Ravan's brilliance shone through. After Ravan's death, Ram immediately crowned Vibhishana as the king of Lanka. This was significant. Ram did not claim Lanka for himself. He did not install a puppet ruler. He gave Lanka to Vibhishana, Ravan's own brother who had chosen Dharma over family loyalty. This act showed that Ram's war was never about conquest. It was about rescuing Sita and restoring Dharma. Now came the moment everyone had been waiting for, Ram and Sita's reunion. But what happened next has been the subject of debate for thousands of years. Ram asked Sita to step forward. And then, in front of everyone, the Vanaras, the gods, the people of Lanka, Ram said something that broke Sita's heart. He said that he had fought this war to uphold his family's honor and to defeat Ravan. But now, having lived in another man's house for so long, he could not simply take her back. He said the world would question her purity. Sita was devastated. But she was not weak. She did not beg. She did not cry. Instead, she asked Lakshman to prepare a fire. And then, with her head held high, Sita walked into the flames. This is the famous Agni Pariksha, the trial by fire. The fire god, Agni himself, appeared from the flames carrying Sita unharmed. He declared to the entire world that Sita was pure, that she had never wavered in her devotion to Ram, not even for a moment during her captivity. The fire could not touch her because there was nothing impure to burn. Ram embraced Sita. Some texts say that Ram always knew Sita was pure, and the Agni Pariksha was meant to prove it to the world, not to himself. Others say it was necessary because a king's wife had to be above all suspicion for the sake of the kingdom. Whatever interpretation you follow, this remains one of the most emotionally charged moments in the entire Ramayana. With Sita rescued, the war won, and Lanka under righteous rule, it was time to go home. Ram's 14 years of exile were finally over. He had left Ayodhya as a prince. He was returning as a legend. Ram, Sita, Lakshman, and several companions boarded the Pushpak Vimana, the flying chariot that had originally belonged to Kubera before Ravan stole it. As they flew over the landscapes of India, Ram pointed out the places where key events had happened. Kishkinda, where he met Hanuman. Panchavati, where they had lived in the forest. The bridge to Lanka built by the Vanara army. But there was a worry in Ram's heart. His exile was exactly 14 years. He had promised his brother Bharat that he would return on the last day of the 14th year. If he was even one day late, Bharat had vowed to give up his own life by walking into fire. Ram sent Hanuman ahead to Ayodhya to tell Bharat that he was coming. When Hanuman reached Ayodhya, he found Bharat in a terrible state. Bharat had spent all 14 years living like an ascetic. He had placed Ram's sandals on the throne and ruled Ayodhya only as Ram's representative, never as king. He wore bark clothes, slept on the floor, and ate simple food. He had been counting the days, And when the 14th year was about to end with no sign of Ram, Bharat had indeed prepared a funeral pyre. Hanuman arrived just in time. When Bharat heard that Ram was returning, his joy knew no bounds. The entire city of Ayodhya erupted in celebration. People cleaned and decorated every street. Oil lamps were lit on every rooftop, every window, every doorstep. The entire city blazed with light to welcome Ram home. This is the origin of Diwali, the festival of lights. The day Ram returned to Ayodhya after 14 years of exile. The light that the people of Ayodhya lit that day has been lit every year since for thousands of years across the world. Ram was crowned king of Ayodhya in a grand ceremony. The gods themselves attended. Sita was by his side as queen. Lakshman, Bharat, and Shatrughna took their places as his trusted pillars. And what followed was Ram Rajya, the rule of Ram. It became the gold standard for governance in all of Hindu tradition. During Ram Rajya, there was no poverty, no disease, no crime, no injustice. The rains came on time, the harvests were abundant. Every person in the kingdom was happy and prosperous. Parents never had to perform funeral rites for their children because no one died before their time. It was a perfect society, or as close to perfect as a human civilization has ever come. Ram ruled with absolute fairness. He treated every citizen equally, regardless of their caste or status. He was accessible to everyone. Any person in the kingdom could come to his court and present a grievance, and Ram would personally hear it and deliver justice. But even in this paradise, storm clouds were gathering. One day, Ram's spies brought him a report from the city. A washerman in Ayodhya was arguing with his wife. The wife had been away from home for some time, and the washerman was refusing to take her back. He said, "I am not like Ram, who took back his wife after she lived in another man's house. I will not accept a woman whose purity is questionable." Those words struck Ram like an arrow through the heart. It was one thing for enemies to question Sita's honor. But when ordinary citizens of his own kingdom doubted the queen, it threatened the moral foundation of his rule. A king's first duty is to his people, and if the people doubted the queen, the king had a terrible choice to make. Ram made the most painful decision of his life. He asked Lakshman to take Sita to the forest and leave her there. Sita was pregnant at the time. Lakshman, with tears streaming down his face, obeyed his brother's command. He took Sita to the forest near the ashram of sage Valmiki and left her there. Sita was abandoned, not because Ram doubted her, not because he stopped loving her, but because he believed a king must put his people above everything, even above his own heart. In the forest, Sita found shelter in Valmiki's ashram, and there she gave birth to twin boys, Love and Kush. These two boys grew up in the forest under Valmiki's guidance. They were extraordinary children, intelligent, brave, and skilled in both warfare and knowledge. Valmiki himself taught them the Ramayana, and Love and Kush could recite the entire epic from memory in beautiful verse. Years later, Ram performed the Ashwamedha Yagna, the horse sacrifice that was the ultimate declaration of sovereignty. Love and Kush, not knowing that Ram was their father, captured the sacrificial horse and defeated every warrior Ram sent to retrieve it, including Lakshman, Bharat, Shatrughna, and Hanuman. It was only when Ram himself came to face them that the truth was revealed. Ram asked Sita to come back, and this time Sita had had enough. She had walked through fire once. She had been abandoned despite her innocence. She had raised 2 sons alone in the wilderness. She would not be tested again. Sita looked up at the sky and said, "If I have been faithful to Ram in thought, word, and deed, then may Mother Earth take me back into her arms." The ground beneath her feet began to tremble. A golden throne rose from the earth, and Mother Earth herself, Bhumi Devi, appeared and took Sita into her embrace. The earth opened up and swallowed Sita whole. She was gone. Ram screamed. He begged the earth to return Sita, but she was gone forever. The man who had given up everything for Dharma, his throne, his comfort, his wife, now stood alone, with the weight of his choices crushing him. Ram continued to rule Ayodhya for many more years. He was still a just and righteous king. But there was a sadness in him that never left. He placed a golden statue of Sita next to his throne for every ceremony that required the queen's presence. He never married again. When the time finally came for Ram's departure from this world, he did not die in battle or of old age. He walked into the Saryu River, the same river that flowed by Ayodhya. He entered the waters and did not come back. This is called Jal Samadhi. It was a conscious, peaceful departure. And with him, many of his people, his brothers, and even some of his closest companions chose to follow him into the river. Ram returned to his divine form as Vishnu. The avatar's purpose was complete. Dharma had been established. The lessons had been taught. But what a bittersweet ending. A man who was worshipped as God, who built the perfect kingdom, who was the ideal son, the ideal brother, the ideal king. He could not be the ideal husband without failing as a king, and could not be the ideal king without failing as a husband. That is the true tragedy and the true greatness of Ram. He showed us that doing the right thing is not always the same as doing the happy thing. That duty sometimes demands the ultimate sacrifice, not of your life, but of your love. The story after Ravan's death is not just history. It is a mirror that forces us to ask ourselves, what would you sacrifice for what you believe is right, and could you live with the consequences?